And we continue at 1:06 in the afternoon on the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wangs in Culver City.
John, the world of artificial intelligence is getting more advanced and scarier by the day. Listener Tony knows a lot about AI, and he had an AI listen to a whole bunch of episodes of the California Crime Blotter here on the John Phillips Show, and then had it make a rap song about it.
Going down East 14, crack sidewalks and lost dreams. Somebody lit the hoop on fire. Oh my God, they melted the basketball court, it seems. Taglines on every pole, tents in the schoolyard lies. Another night in Oakland, with piece of something they forgot. It's wild, wild west out there, said the man with no shoes. Sirens sing lullabies and helicopters on the blues. Corner boy hollers, eyes wide with fear. I said, hell no, baby boy, let me get up on out of here.
Well, keep playing it. It was fantastic.
I said, hell no, baby boy. Let me get up on out of here.
The cashier is dummy, yo, they gon' get got. Questions, not a block, already been hot. Oh, hey, no, another window smashed in the night. It's the California Crime Blotter, better keep that door shut tight. Graffiti gospel on the wall says, hope don't live here no more. They broke into the in and out, now it's boarded like a corner store. Superman gave up, slipped on Telegraph and 23rd. Cape all dusty, eyes hollow, not a single heroic word. Who else we gonna call Superman?
This is scaring me. It's too good.
Word, who else we gonna call Superman? Yeah, right, now it's just shadows and whispers, ducking out of sight. No justice, no capes, no savior to restore. Just dreams packed in shopping carts and chalk lines on the floor. If the cashier is dummy, then he better pray fast. Question, yeah, why these moments never seem to pass? Oh, ain't no justice on this page. It's the California Crime Blotter, heartbreak headline front stage.
That's clever. Much better than we could do.
We laugh at this and we enjoy this, but I'm telling you, it's only going to be like a week before Tony tells ChatGPT to just pretend to be us.
Then you could have live shows on Saturday and Sunday, too.
We got to lock in that contract ASAP, Johnny.
Now, here's the question. Would the AI version of me get bleeped as often as I have been in the last 2 weeks?
Well, if it's only learning how to be you by listening to you, then yes. And I'm not sure if the AI version of me would be judicious enough to dump it.
So you think the AI edition of you would allow the AI edition of me to say inappropriate things?
Yes, not explicitly inappropriate things. You never curse. You just say things that are slightly over the line.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. Well, we have an update for you on the bullet train, which, of course, is supposed to be fully complete and operational by now, but that obviously hasn't happened, and it's not going to happen anytime soon. And the feds say, wait a minute, we gave you money to lay track to make this train operational. You didn't spend the money on that, and now we have many questions.
Well, the Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, has released a report exposing no viable path forward for California's high-speed rail boondoggle. That is actually the title of the press release. The report identifies years of mismanagement, broken promises, and wasted federal taxpayer dollars. Here is the actual press release. U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy released the Federal Railroad Administration's Compliance Review Project report, finding that California's High-Speed Rail Authority's high-speed rail project is in default of the terms of its federal grant awards. The detailed report, over 300 pages, contains 9 key findings, including missed deadlines, budget shortfalls, and I love this one, overrepresentation of projected ridership.
And then the state of California is broke, and the High-Speed Rail Authority went to the state legislature and said, oh, yeah, by the way, the project isn't going to be done when we told you. We're going to need more time, and we need $7 more billion just this year to keep it going so we can finish that late.
And Gavin's solution is, let's extend cap and trade for another 20 years, jack up the gas prices, and continue to bail out this project that has shown nothing.
And California's gas prices are already the highest in the nation, and they're only going one way, and that's up.
Let me continue here. The two grants total roughly $4 billion in taxpayer money. As the letter notes, the High-Speed Rail Authority has up to 37 days to respond, after which the grants could be terminated.
And before, when Joe Biden was there, Joe Biden, of course, is a big fan of trains because he rode the Amtrak every day from Delaware to Washington, D.C., but Grampy Joe is gone, and Kamala Harris, who they thought would make it rain if she were to be elected, lost the election. Donald Trump is there, and he's looking for austerity across the board in the federal government. And if you're looking for pork to cut, the high-speed rail is a good place to start.
It's not even a debate, should we have high-speed rail or should we not have high-speed rail? The debate is, these people have done nothing in 15 years, and they have spent a whole bunch of money and wasted a whole bunch of time with nothing to show for it.
But despite all of that, Gavin Newsom and members of the California state legislature regard high-speed rail as a smashing success because they say you don't have to look at it from the point of view of, okay, how many people is the train moving from the north to the south? What you have to look at it and evaluate it based on is how many people does the High-Speed Rail Authority employ?
And that's what's happening now, thanks to a new bill passed in the California legislature from State Senator Dan Cortese that says, hey, we need to spend state money to study the economic benefits of a non-existent high-speed rail.
From his point of view, high-speed rail works because it's employing people in his district. It's contracting with firms that I assume are giving him campaign contributions, and he's got to keep that going.
Excuse me, I said Dan Cortese, it's Dave Cortese. But here, let's find out about this bill. Here's ABC 10.
Tonight, California's high-speed rail project is back in the spotlight. The state Senate just advanced a bill that, if passed, would study the potential economic benefits of the project. SB 545.
So let's take another 5 years to study the benefits of something that we know is a failure.
Oh, no, they're just going to try to keep this going as long as possible, and it doesn't matter to them if the train is actually operational or not.
Project. SB 545, authored by State Senator Dave Cortese, would require the state to study the economic benefits tied to the high-speed rail project and its connecting lines.
Here's an economic benefit, and this is true, and I'm going to find the rap for this because I saved it somewhere and we never got to it. But there's a tattoo parlor that operates in downtown Fresno where one of the stations has been being constructed for years and years and years for the non-existent high-speed rail. This tattoo shop has had a lot of problems with customers being able to park because of all the construction vehicles, and they have had to shut down in the middle of the day several times because there are so many dust particles in the air, it is not safe to tattoo the skin.
No, and if you have all those work trucks out in front of your shop, where is everyone supposed to park their motorcycles?
And its connecting lines. So the bill also mandates that if local agencies form infrastructure districts to help fund the rail's construction, most of that revenue...
Wait, what is this?
Play that back one more time.
If local agencies form infrastructure districts to help fund the rail's construction, most of that revenue must be spent on projects within those communities.
So they know the money's going away from the feds. Are they now saying that local money has to go to this thing?
Okay, I think we figured out what they plan on doing. The state's basically broke. And if they get cap and trade money, that's it. Because there's a huge food fight going on right now up there over who's going to pay for the health care for illegal aliens, and we have to keep the teachers' unions happy and all those other things. If they're going to keep the high-speed rail project going, I guess what they're going to have to do is take the areas where there's something visible, where people are actually working and people are actually generating W-2s, and they're going to say, okay, let's come up with a special district like we have with the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy, for example, where we can tax people And they're very deceptive with how those taxes operate. You get something in the mail from something you don't even know exists. It looks like an advertisement, and you throw it out. But what it actually is a ballot. And the only people who actually vote in those elections are people who are aware of what it is that they're doing and support the mission. They get the word out to their people, and everyone else just throws it away. My guess is if you create these special districts, it's going to look a whole lot like the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy, where the people who vote are the people who stand to benefit from having more money for high-speed rail, and no one else is going to even know that these districts exist, and they're going to keep it going that way. This is very deceptive.
Well, not only that, but you look at what is going on the ballot next year is a measure to bail out transit agencies, whether it's BART in the Bay Area, Muni in San Francisco, LA Metro, all of them facing budget shortfalls because they spent way too much money with all their COVID bailouts. That bill is going to be a $20 billion bond. And who's to say that with a little fancy footwork in the legislature, that money that's supposed to bail out local metro agencies can be transferred over to the high-speed rail with these rules?
And I know when you talk about numbers that large, they kind of lose meaning. There's no way the state of California can afford a bond that size. No way.
Supporters say the measure will help the rail project deliver real economic benefits where it's needed most, but opponents argue it could add to the already ballooning costs of the project.
I got to find it. I got to play for you. There's all these little propaganda videos on the High Speed Rail Authority's YouTube page that are like, get the facts about high-speed rail. And one of them is like, this hasn't improved anybody's lives. And they talk to a woman who's going to welding school thanks to the high-speed rail.
Oh, great. None of us can ride the train from L.A. to San Francisco, but some woman is going to community college.
It's another waste of money. It's studying $700,000 thrown down the tubes because what they're doing is they're going to study.
Think about this. The state is broke, and the state Senate decides to vote yes on a bill that spends $700,000 to study this.
No, they're not going to study it. What they're going to do is they're going to come up with more propaganda to put out to say it's a great deal.
You mean like when they went to the USC Festival of Books?
Oh, yeah.
The economic impact from Merced, the train from Merced to Bakersfield.
I have to keep correcting people because even though nobody needs a train that goes from Merced to Bakersfield, it does not go to Bakersfield. It goes to 15 miles outside of Bakersfield in Wasco. And Johnny, what's in Wasco?
There's a prison there, and that's where I sat Grandpa the last time I was on jury duty.
End of the day, we keep spending billions and billions of dollars on this train that everybody knows, as proposed, will never be built.
In a statement, Senator Dave Cortese says the bill sets the foundation for increasing commercial and residential development investment along the high-speed rail corridor to create jobs, desperately needed housing, attract businesses, and generate new revenue streams that will help fund a lot of things.
Here we go. All the benefits.
They look at this like it's some kind of New Deal program. Like we're going through the Great Depression, and we need to have some project that may not ever be completed, but that doesn't matter because the mere fact that the project employs people is good enough.
That's not what was sold to voters. Voters were sold on a train that goes from Los Angeles to San Francisco to make it somehow cheaper than flying Southwest, which never made any sense to begin with, or that people could work in the Bay Area and live in the Central Valley. It's not going to do anything like that.
Here is a prediction. As AI continues to take over, and we talked about this earlier in the week, we played you a song that was made via AI, and obviously AI is getting to be very good. And some of the projections are that we could have an unemployment rate as high as 20%, but we could have unlimited economic growth. We could have economic growth of 10% a year, balanced budgets, cures for diseases, new technology, going to Mars, all of these wonderful things, but we're also going to end up with a very high unemployment rate. That's the prediction. If you look at high-speed rail as the model for how they are going to combat unemployment and jobs being eliminated through AI. I think high-speed rail is just the tip of the iceberg. Couldn't you imagine if the unemployment rate goes to 20%, some future Democratic governor of California and future Democratic-controlled state legislature saying, you know what we're going to do? We think some form of humanity or some form of life is going to come here from another planet. And we have to go out in the middle of the desert and we have to build a colony for them in the event that they come here. And let's go ahead and take all of these dollars that rich people are paying in taxes, and let's go out and employ a bunch of other people who lost their jobs because of AI and hire them to build this colony for people coming from outer space. And they're just going to find all of these ridiculous projects that you know will never be completed and you know are not needed, but you just have to have people clocking in at the plant and doing something, even if it's totally useless and even if it's totally unnecessary and not needed. Giving people a job, giving people a W-2 is more important than actually putting infrastructure into the ground that people use.
It now heads to the Assembly for a vote. And we have an in-depth look at the high-speed rail project on the ABC 10 Plus TV streaming.
Oh, yeah, they have a really good one. It's an embarrassing mess. But Dave Cortese is the one. That was the special where he's like, look at this as a stimulus package for the Central Valley.
I think this is the future. I think this is what they're going to do. And if everyone else stays on the same page, then who's going to say no? Because no one in the legislature is going to say no. The governor is not going to say no. The unions aren't going to say no. They all say this project is a success. Anyone who says otherwise is telling you misinformation. They're like robots. And as long as no one breaks character, they can keep it going forever. Trump is a problem for them, which is why they have to come up with these special districts. But they're going to do whatever it is that they have to do to keep this thing going. They are not going to pull the plug on this train. So here's my question to you at 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. Do you think in your lifetime you will ever ride high-speed rail in California from L.A. to San Francisco? Actually, you know what? Do you think you'll ever be able to ride high-speed rail from Wasco to Merced? Let's just start there. Because I don't. I don't think in my lifetime I'll be able to ever step foot on any train associated with the High-Speed Rail Authority. And I'm 45 years old. What say you? At 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. Do you think you'll ever ride the bullet train? Do you believe you'll ever ride high-speed rail in the state of California? I don't. What say you? At 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. The feds say it's time to cut bait on high-speed rail. The state has mismanaged the project so badly it will never be completed. My question to you at 800-222-5222 is this. Do you think in your lifetime you will ever ride on the bullet train in the state of California? I don't. What say you? Let's begin with Mark in Pleasanton. Mark, hello.
I'll never ride on the train, and they made several key errors over 25 years ago. Number one, they're building a milk train, not a speed train. They should have gone up Highway 5. There are sections of 20 and 40 miles with nothing. They chose to go up Highway 99, which is a lawyer's dream. That's why they've had thousands of lawsuits. And also, when they chose to go up Highway 99, France and Japan pulled out of the deal.
So what's your theory? Do you think that they never actually planned on building this train from the very beginning, or do you think they just didn't know what they were doing and it was the Keystone Cops getting in their own way?
Well, and as a side note, I worked for an engineering firm in San Francisco for a couple of years on related topics. I think some people want it to happen, but it's obviously political. Somebody said, I've heard rumors that there was some reason they had to route it through Palmdale, which I don't understand, because then the implication of the route they chose is if you go from Los Angeles to San Francisco in 3.5 hours, you will get riders. But if you go from Los Angeles to San Francisco in 6.5 hours, people aren't going to ride it. So it's a disaster. And then it's going to stop in Turlock and Modesto and Atwater. This thing's going to take longer than a Greyhound bus.
Well, you go back and you look at the 1960s in California when Pat Brown was governor, and they built the water system, they built the freeway system, they built the state university system. And you look back at what all of that took, and you think, okay, if they tried to build all of that today, would they be able to? And I think the answer is no. They'd gum everything up in the courts with lawsuits and environmental reviews, and people would lawyer up, and they would be able to block them for years and years and years, and it would take so long, you'd never be able to build any of those things today.
You're right. Or it's gone up 5- and 6-fold. So there were some common sense things we should have done. Just clearing out a creek and putting in cement was a disaster for fish. But to go to the other extreme also doesn't work.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. Let's go to Bob in San Jose. Bob, hello.
How you guys doing? I don't think I'll ever ride it. I think it's just they're trying to extend the grift so they can fund more of the preferred developers, stack and pack housing, and road diets, $300 a green cone at least before they're installed. They got to keep the cash coming in so they can float that money to the preferred cronies. And you see it everywhere. They like the high CPI with the gas tax because it unseats people from even commercial real estate. You pass the bond initiative. You get the scorched earth and who's ready to buy it up? The investor class. Books fall off the cliff. And we just keep paying for the subsidized development at such a high. Now you got to get electric appliances. You got to pay for a new labor rate, a new insurance bond, umbrella policy on the whole project. It's a dumpster fire, and it'll never stop until we get rid of the regressive carbon tax and cap and trade and quintuple down gas taxes from Newsom and Scott Wiener and all those confiscators up there.
What you just basically described is a rinse and repeat model of what we're doing with homelessness, where you need to keep the problem going forever. You enrich all of your buddies. Some of that money finds its way back to you, and everyone's happy except for the people who live here and pay the bills.
We're all working 3 times as hard for way less return, and they put that Prop 19 thing, and you can't even keep a parcel in your family after you paid on it for 30 years. You're going to have to conscript your whole family. They'll have to choose to live there. Couldn't even have a rental operation. They'll put rent controls on that person. Person's likely to sell. I mean, they're just grinding people out. And the millstones are not just from Lenin. They're from this corporate kleptocracy that is running and has all these shills in government. That, and these are not in anyone's best interest but them. We're all working. The wage doesn't mean anything anymore. It's not your $50 an hour that Barbara Lee wants. It's a real number if it's a living wage, but no small mom and pop can handle it. It's not; these are not real numbers, but they don't care because they know people will still stay here for the weather.
All right, thank you for the call, sir. Let's go to Richard in San Jose. Richard, hello.
Well, you guys nailed it on the head. They know that they're going to never get this thing built. I'll never ride it, and if Newsom can't balance a budget. What good is any of this?
I'll go one step further. Not only do I think I'll never ride the high-speed rail here in the state of California, I don't think I'd ride the high-speed rail in California if I ate healthy.
Well, you might want to try some tofu, and that might help you out.
I don't know about that, but thank you for the call, sir. Let's go to David in San Francisco. David, hello.
Hey, good afternoon, sir. I don't think I'm ever going to ride that train either. In fact, I'm wondering, why do we even need a train to go from Northern California down to L.A.? We have airplanes that already do the job. And how much are they going to charge for those tickets anyways? This is what I think you nailed it on the head is it's graft, and some of the other callers have called this out. We've got to see who is actually making money on all of this. And, I mean, frankly, it's like I think the feds are going to have a hard time making a case for a graft anyways because, you need people who are willing to tell the investigators where the evidence is. But in any event, I don't think that I'm ever going to ride that train. And I don't even think that there's even a need to. Why would you want to spend 4 or 5 hours going from San Francisco to L.A. when you can do it in 45 minutes on an airplane for $100?
Well, you're exactly right. And it's not even just that airplane travel is more efficient. It's that airplane travel involves regional airports. So if you're flying from, let's say, here to London, no, you can't go to John Wayne Airport in Orange County direct from here to London. Maybe you can, I guess. I don't know, but it's unlikely. You'll have to connect in some bigger city. But if you're going from Southern California to, let's say, San Francisco, and you live in Long Beach, you want to fly out of Long Beach. You don't want to drive to LAX. If you live in the Valley, you want to go out of Burbank. If you live in the Inland Empire, you want to go out of Ontario or Palm Springs. If you live in Santa Barbara, you want to go out of Santa Barbara. And you can do that right now for very little money. Why in the world would you give that up to drive to downtown Los Angeles, get on a train, spend double the money or triple the money that you would on an airplane ticket, and then stop in all these podunk cities because the assemblyman from the podunk city said, if you want my vote, the train has to stop here. None of that makes any sense. As air travel becomes more efficient and the gas mileage gets better on the airplanes and it gets cheaper, and think about this. I mean, you go buy an airplane ticket from here to New York City, and you spend about what you would have spent in the 1980s. Those tickets were about $300 a pop back then. If you're a bargain shopper, you could find something for that going from California to New York. That's an industry that has gotten cheaper over time. But you deal with a train that has cost overruns and unionized work groups and everything that they want and all of these lawsuits. I can only imagine what they're going to charge for those tickets.
It's like they want to do this the most expensive way possible to charge everybody as much as possible and then raise more taxes and, get more bonds so that, we're going to pay into this forever and ever. And, I don't want to ride the train to L.A. I'll catch a plane and I'll do it in 45 minutes and it'll be safe too. I mean, I think the train, well, who knows how it's going to work, but I mean, maybe that's going to become the new drug trafficking route for all the drugs to come up from down south to go up north and whatnot. But I don't know. I think it's a terrible idea. I think it's a terrible idea, and I think it's terrible that we spent so much money on this, and they're still talking about it. After what was it that Elon Musk said, like $15 billion in 15 years or something, and they've got not even like a mile of track.
They certainly don't have much to show for it. Thank you for the call, sir. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. Do you think you'll ever ride the bullet train here in the state of California in your lifetime? If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Jessica writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com, and she did the math. If you look at the proposed past and future cost of the train and divide that between what pretty much the round trip cost is for a flight from L.A. to San Francisco, it comes up to 353 million round-trip flights.
Sounds like money well spent. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. Let's begin with Bob in Berkeley. Bob, hello.
Hey, first of all, guys, great job on the show. I love it. My only point was that I feel like this whole bullet train scam is a way for them to ensure future revenues, because if it's kind of like a cell phone company giving you a cell phone for free and then they charge you a monthly fee. Once they build this thing, which is already the cost is astronomical, once it's built, it's never going to pay for itself on ridership, just like BART in the Bay Area doesn't pay for itself on ridership. We have to fund it every year. And I think the same thing is what they're doing is they're just going to get this thing built, and then they're going to charge us every year to keep it running, and it will never pay for itself on ridership. So I think we should cut our losses now and say, forget it. There's going to be newer, cheaper technology in the future. This thing's never going to pay for itself. That's my humble
there's
thought.
a lot of truth to that. You know, the phone tax that you pay on your telephone line was put on the books to pay for the Spanish-American War. And when that war was paid for, that tax was supposed to go away. Well, we haven't had any problems with the Spanish for a long time, and we're all still paying that tax.
Dude. Yeah, cut it loose at this point. I'm like, well, let's walk away, cut our losses.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. Let's go to Joe in Santa Monica. Joe, hello.
Boy, thanks for the history lesson. That's incredible. John, have you ever been on Amtrak?
Thankfully, no.
I tell you, the ride from here up to San Luis Obispo, it's absolutely beautiful. The train goes at about 70 to 80 miles an hour. Sometimes it slows down because along the ocean, the tracks curl right along the coast. It's a beautiful train ride. I would never ride the train to nowhere, the train that we've been talking about over the years. It is so disgusting. I listened to John Capal last night on the Howard Jarvis show, and he just said, even the preliminary studies said, what the hell is this thing all about? It's never going to be successful. You're not going to get ridership. And the fact that I'm talking to you right now, years and years after this thing got started, it's just, how long is this going to go on? And when are the people in California going to wake up and vote people out that are just ripping them off?
Well, it's easy to keep it going when you're essentially generating tax dollars from people in Arizona and Alaska and New York and all over the country to help subsidize it. When that money goes away and we have to pay for our state's own mismanagement, and we're broke to begin with, so we have to take those dollars from other programs and shift them towards high-speed rail, at a certain point, the people are going to cry uncle, and the people are going to say, now, wait a minute, my kid's tuition is going up dramatically at the University of California or California State University system, or you want to raise my taxes to pay for this. And people are going to say, we don't need this train. Enough is enough. Thank you for the call, sir.